He fed a starving alien cub. Moments later, it returned with its seductive mother. Beginning, the dust storms on Azara, 9 were merciless. Red grains of sand scraped across the visor of Lieutenant Marcus Hale's helmet, whispering against the glass like the ghosts of long-dead travelers. He trudged forward, the weight of his emergency pack dragging at his shoulders. His dropship had gone down 12 kilometers west, swallowed by the canyon ridge, and the rest of his crew were either dead or missing. Marcus didn't expect rescue. The nearest human outpost was 6 parsecs away, and his comms antenna had snapped during the crash. All he had was a survival training, dwindling rations, and the barren, hostile wasteland. Azara 9 wasn't uncharted. It was listed as a restricted zone, one of dozens of planets scarred by old wars between humans and the Zarat Dominion. The place was said to be littered with ruins, bones, and lingering technologies too dangerous to study. He remembered the warning briefings. If you must land, do not engage with natives. Do not disturb the ruins. Do not wander at night. But warnings didn't fill an empty stomach. And right now, Marcus was more concerned with surviving the next 24 hours than any Dominion ghost story. As the storm began to clear, he sheltered in a jagged outcropping of stone. That was when he heard it, a whimper, soft, high-pitched, fragile. Marcus froze, hand instinctively dropping to the pistol at his hip. He scanned the rocks until his helmet's visor magnified the source. At first, he thought it was a dying scavenger bird. But no, it was the cub, barely the size of a human toddler. Its body was covered in sleek midnight blue fur, with faint bioluminescent streaks running along its back. Its eyes were enormous, a pale silver that reflected light like water. The creature was trembling, ribs visible, its tiny claws scraping at the sand as it searched for scraps of food. Marcus knew enough xenobiology to recognize danger signs. Alien young never strayed far from their mothers. And on a restricted world like this, the parrot would almost certainly be dangerous. He should have walked away. But the cub made a sound, a tiny, pained chirp, that cut straight through his military caution. It was a sound of something too weak to fight, too hungry to hate. Cursing himself, Marcus unclipped one of his ration bars, cracked in half, and tossed it forward. The cub froze, sniffed, and then, desperation overcoming fear, it pounced, devouring compressed protein in seconds. Marcus sat back, exhaling. Well, kid, I guess it's your lucky day. But luck, as he was about to discover, was a double-edged blade. Middle, the cub didn't run. In fact, after licking the last crumbs in the sand, it crept closer to Marcus. Its bioluminescent streaks pulsed softly, almost rhythmically, like a heartbeat. He realized the glow wasn't random, it was communication. And before long, the cub began following him. Marcus tried shooing it away. He couldn't afford the extra attention, and worse, if its parent was nearby. That thought ended when the sky darkened. Not with clouds. With her. The mother descended the ridge like a phantom carved of starlight and shadow. She was massive, easily twice Marcus's height, her body sinuous yet powerful, draped in fur that shimmered with galaxies of faint light. Her wings, were they wings? Unfurled like liquid crystal, catching the faint suns above. But what stunned Marcus most wasn't her size or alien majesty. It was her eyes. Silver like her cub's, but deeper, eyes that burned with intellect, with awareness. She was no mere beast. She was sentient and furious. The ground quaked as she landed, her claws sinking into the rock. She hissed, a sound layered with harmonics that rattled Marcus's chest plate. He stumbled back, pistol raised, knowing full well it was useless. But then, to his astonishment, the cub darted between them. It chirped, glowing brighter, its patterns flickering in urgent pulses. The mother froze. Her gaze shifted from her cub to Marcus and softened. She inhaled, the air shimmering as though bending to her will. When she exhaled, her voice wasn't worded exactly, but something Marcus's translator implant struggled to shape into meaning. You fed my child. Marcus stiffened. She could speak. The pistol lowered slowly. He was starving. I couldn't just leave him. The alienqueen tilted her head. Up close, she was terrifying and beautiful, her features both human-like and impossibly other. Her body radiated power, but there was grace in the way she moved, each step deliberate. Her cub pressed against her leg, glowing faintly. She placed one clawed hand on its head before focusing again on Marcus. Few among your kind show mercy. Most bring fire. Chains. Weapons. You gave life. Marcus didn't know what to say. His throat was dry. I just did what anyone should. The queen's lips curved, if that was what the gesture was, into something like a smile. Then you are not like the others. And for that you will not die. Marcus's knees weakened with relief. But her next words chilled him. Instead, you belong to me. From that moment on, Marcus's life shifted into something he could barely comprehend. The queen, whose name, translated loosely, was Ceres, commanded him to follow. Surrounded by her cub and her strange aura, resistance was impossible. She led him into the canyon, through tunnels carved not by nature but by long-forgotten builders. There, vast bioluminescent forests glowed in underground caverns, rivers of liquid crystal flowed, and towering spires hummed with residual Dominion technology. Ceres's people, it seemed, were long gone. She was one of the last of her kind, a queen without a court, ruling only silence and memory. Her cub, she revealed, was her first in centuries. Marcus pieced it together slowly. The Dominion had used her species as living weapons, breeders of soldiers, their genetic material harvested, their instincts twisted. When the Dominion fell, humans had helped sweep the remnants aside, branding them dangerous, unworthy of trust. But Ceres had survived, and now she had chosen Marcus, not as prey but as something else. She treated him with strange intimacy. Sometimes she circled him, her glowing patterns shifting like silken water, studying his every movement. Sometimes she touched him, her claws grazing his skin without breaking it, as though testing his strength. And sometimes she simply watched it with eyes that pierced deeper than any human gaze. The word seductive hardly captured it. Ceres radiated a pull that was primal, magnetic, woven of both danger and allure. Marcus found himself drawn to her, even when he tried to resist. He should have feared her. Yet, in her presence, he felt something he hadn't felt in years, belonging. And as days turned to weeks, the bond deepened. He cared for the cub, teaching it games, sharing food. The cub adored him, and Ceres began to trust him. But trust in a world like Izara 9 was fragile. The conflict. One night, as Marcus slept within the bioluminescent grove, he was jolted awake by screams. Alien and mechanical. Raiders. Human scavengers, drawn by the rumors of Dominion ruins, had descended upon the canyon. They came armed with plasma rifles and drones, stripping technology, capturing anything of value. They found Ceres. Marcus saw it unfold. Nets of crackling energy ensnaring her wings, explosives detonating against her hide. The cub shrieked, darting for cover. Marcus had a choice. He could flee. He could hide. No one would blame him. But as he watched Ceres writhe under human weapons, her silver eyes finding his, pleading desperate, something inside him snapped. She wasn't just an alien. She wasn't a monster. She was a mother, a queen, and she had spared his life. He grabbed a fallen rifle. Marcus fought like a man possessed. The raiders never expected resistance from one of their own kind. He cut through them with ruthless precision, training and fury combined. The cub joined him, glowing bright enough to blind drones, darting between attackers. Together, they carved a path to Ceres. Marcus broke her bonds, dragging her up as her strength returned. With a roar that shook the cavern, Ceres unleashed her fury, tearing raiders apart, wings blazing like fire. When the last screams faded, silence fell. The ground was littered with wreckage, human and machine alike. Marcus, bloodied and trembling, collapsed. The cub nuzzled against him. Ceres bent low, her vast form folding until her face was inches from his. "You chose me," she whispered. Marcus met her gaze, voice hoarse. "No, I chose family." Ending. The days that followed were different. Ceres was no longer just an alien queen in his eyes. She was his ally, his bond, his something more. The wreckage left by the raiders gave Marcus tools, comms parts, food supplies, even a repaired shuttle. He could have left. He could have signaled for rescue. But when he looked at Ceres and her cub, he realized he no longer wanted to. Humans would never understand her. They would cage her, dissect her, brand her dangerous again. But here with her, Marcus had found something beyond orders, beyond survival. At night, under the glow of alien stars, she often curled her massive form around him and her cub, shielding them both. Her touch was no longer testing. It was protective, claiming. And Marcus? He no longer wondered if she had seduced him, because the truth was simple. He had chosen her long before he realized it. For in feeding a starving cub, Marcus Hale hadn't just saved a life. He had bound himself to an alien queen forever,